Is a working office. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us in the Estates Department of the Ministry of Public Works. I'm joined today by Ms. Sudal Joseph, the Acting Chief Surveyor, and Mr. Sheridan Ming, the Acting Buildings Manager, key personnel in this effort. Earlier this year, the Cabinet approved the introduction of revised space standards for government offices in order to make more efficient use of space and reduce costs. As part of the Public Service Reform Initiative, Cabinet also considered a number of issues in respect of asset management, one of which was the need to ensure that a consistent approach is adopted in the layout, design, finishes, and furnishings of government office accommodations. The goal is to provide effective government services in a sustainable, effective, safe, and healthy work environment that makes efficient use of space and affords greater value for money. The existing government office space standards have not changed for decades and are now considered overly generous. The layouts are inefficient compared to the more modern, flexible, and collaborative work environments common in the private sector. With private sector rents of approximately $8.9 million annually, savings can be had by more efficient use of space both within government-owned buildings and those rented from the private sector. Savings are not limited to rents alone, as other operating costs, including electricity, maintenance, and service charges, will also decrease as the space occupied is reduced. The existing office space standards provide for 250 to 300 square feet for ministers, 200 to 250 square feet for permanent secretaries, 150 square feet for directors, and 100 square feet for staff. In addition to this, a further 15% is provided for circulation space. Conversely, the requirements of the Occupational Safety and Health Regulations 2009 require a minimum of 43 square feet per employee. The revised space standards provide for 200 square feet for ministers, 150 square feet for permanent secretaries, 100 square feet for a director, and 65 square feet for an officer, with no additional allowance for circulation space. The reductions range from 35% for general staff to 66% for department heads. We have agreed that the layout of government offices generally move to open floor plan to make better use of space, improve collaboration and communication, as well as provide a more flexible working environment. The offices are to be furnished with trader-style desks, common in the private sector, as opposed to workstations of old that effectively created individual offices. Only ministers, permanent secretaries, and directors are to be provided with a private office. Small conference rooms will also be provided for confidential discussions and staff meetings. That said, it is recognized that there are some government services and operations that do not fit the new office format and have special requirements owing to the nature of those activities. These will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and any deviations will require the prior written approval of the Minister of Public Works. Not surprisingly, within the civil service, we have had some resistance to this new policy. The lead entity in delivering this message, the Estates Department, is setting the example by being the first department to transition to an open floor plan that also sees the Chief Surveyor, who is entitled to an office, and his management team occupy desks on the office floor. Around us, you will see photographs of the space as it existed prior to these renovations. You will readily see the new space is bright, with a significant amount of natural light that affords officers the ability to easily collaborate with each other on various aspects of their work. They have been in situ since November last year, and while there are a few minor teething pains, the transition has been quite smooth so far. In this space previously, we accommodated 15 staff and have increased that complement to 23 stations in a new configuration. The cost of these renovations were just over $500,000 and took us 5 months to complete the works. The immediate plan following this is to expand the remainder of this floor and transition other departments into this space. Going forward, as we renovate or move government departments, this will be the standard that is applied. We are moving into the modern age, and over time, we expect to effect significant cost savings to the public purse. Thank you.
All right, members of the media, do you have any questions for the minister regarding this particular initiative that is highlighted today?
Minister, did you provide a figure as to how much that this office space would save government?
I didn't provide that figure. We haven't figured that out yet. But clearly, the direction in which we're headed in, if you take the number of staff that we were able to accommodate previously, 15, and we now are able to accommodate 23, one can easily see that we're heading in the right direction in terms of savings.
Minister, what would you say the biggest pushback was?
I think people like their own space. And so I think that and people generally don't like change in any shape or form, and so they like the way it is, and they want to keep it that way. But I can say that, particularly in relation to the staff in the Estates Department, there was resistance. But once they actually, many of us, once the partitions and offices were taken out, and you had all of this natural light, people were like, oh, this isn't so bad after all. And then as the new furniture came in and started to be put into place, people then figured out that, this probably isn't so bad after all. And what we are trying to convey to many folk in government in particular, but the country in a wider context, is that we are saving our own money because we all pay taxes. And they will tell you that, I'm probably the cheapest person around. The people, anybody who comes into this building before me at 6:30 in the morning and turns on lights in the lobby, if they go out for coffee, they'll find them turned off, because when I come in, I turn them off. I can see where I'm going. They don't need to be turned on until the office is actually open for business. And so we are planning to transition to lights that actually come on when you walk into the room, as opposed to staying on all day. And so we're looking at a number of ways in which we can affect cost savings.
Minister, I guess where could we be seeing changes like this happening next?
On this very floor. So when you exit this space, all of the space behind you and all of the space in this area will be the next phase of renovations in terms of converting to this type of space, and we will transition offices off other departments into that space.
National security also.
Yeah, national security actually have somewhat of a similar sort of setup. They recently moved into space in Global House. But as we go forward, we're not sort of spending money moving everybody to this space because we're obviously trying to not spend a whole lot of money at the same time. But as we effect moves and as we effect changes, you'll be aware that we've had some changes in ministerial and cabinet responsibility. And so some departments are combining that were not previously together. So we're looking at how we accommodate them. And in so doing, they will come into space similar to this.
Does that
Yeah.
conclude questions for this particular initiative? Yes. So do the minister has questions on something else?
Okay. You two want to remain standing here? You're going to leave me on my end. You're going to leave me on my end, huh?
It's really easy.
Yeah.
We've heard that you have new trash trucks. So the question is, will this mean we're going to go back to twice weekly?
You're going to wait for Friday.
We had a story last night about apparent rise in public dumping.
Mm-hmm.
The footage sent to us showed a lot of household dumping around the island.
Yes.
So people saw trash cans,
Yes.
household trash, appliances, etc.
I will speak to that today, even though I'm going to speak to it in a wider context on Friday. And what I will say is that I'm very disappointed that we still have people in our community who do not take any pride in our country. But they are a minority. The vast majority of folk in this country, I do think, take pride, and they probably don't even realize it in terms of taking pride in the country as a whole. They're taking pride in their own neighborhood, so by extension, the country is taken care of. I am very disappointed that people are using all manner of means to dispose of their trash. We've done a number of things, and we'll do some more, and I'll announce those on Friday, how we can help folk to be able to manage what is a slightly different situation. But in the main, I guess what I really would like to say, I actually saw your news, and so I'll thank ZBM for putting it on Bar News, because those of us that don't get home at 7 are able to watch it whenever we like. And I try and do that every day so that I'm somewhat current. But I was very encouraged by the comments of the lady who you had on your news, who actually took personal responsibility, and that's what we would like everybody in this country to do. It's our neighborhoods. And so when you disrespect that, you're disrespecting yourself and your neighbors. Now, we will try and resist. I'm resisting the temptation to always have to always penalize folk for doing things wrong. I think it's far better if we can encourage them to actually do the right thing, and do the right thing by themselves, their families, and their neighbors. And so that's the page that we're on. We are going to take some steps to try and assist and address, particularly in the bulk waste collection area. And I've had some discussions internally about how we might do that, and I'll speak more to that on Friday.
Did you take interest in her comment, the lady we spoke to? And she said she had visited countries in Europe where they have once a month
Oh, yes.
collection.
Yep.
And their place was clean. And
Yep.
therefore, she said people in Bermuda should use the once a week schedule as
Yeah.
an excuse to don't.
Yeah, that's not a reason to do it. I have found personally that, previous to having this responsibility and previous to adjusting the public drop-off hours, I found it very inconvenient to bring my trash to town, because I come long before 9 o'clock in the morning, and I had 2 instances where I came at 6:30 at my normal hour, and I left it in the car and I forgot it. And so you can imagine that when I went out after dark to go home, I thought, what's that smell? And I realized it's your own fault. And so I found it very inconvenient. But I will say that the new hours of the public drop-off, and I'll speak to this on Friday as well, because we've seen a significant uptick in the use of the public drop-off. And many people are saying it is so convenient on a drive to work, they can swing by and drop it off. And so what I have found is that there's 2 things that have helped in this regard for me and people that I know that I talk to about this subject. One is taking advantage of composting, because what that does, it takes all of the food that you're going to feed to all of the vermin and all of the things that are going to be out of your trash. And so they walk by my trash bag because there's nothing in there for them to feed on. And so I compost. Now, I don't guard it, but my neighbors know that they can come and help themselves whenever they like. So that's being a good neighbor. That's one aspect. And so that's reduced the amount of trash that I actually generate. But if like a long weekend, holiday weekend, and you're creating a whole lot of trash, it is very convenient to swing by Tynes Bay and drop off the bag yourself. And it helps in the process. The other thing that for me, that I've learned in doing this job is that the people who actually pick up our garbage are really interested and concerned and care about doing their jobs and doing it well. And I meet with them on a regular basis, and I have a strong feeling that we as a country should be appreciative, because many of us wouldn't do that job. And they go at it with care and concern and a desire to do right by this community. And so they should be thanked and appreciated. But in so doing, I think that we have a responsibility to make an effort to make their jobs easier. And they're related to us too. And so we're not doing it to somebody who we don't like. So we will not go to once a month garbage collection. If I tried that, I suspect you'll be referring to me as the former Minister of Public Works, probably a former minister, period. But we won't go to that. But we will manage our affairs in an efficient manner, and I am confident that the pockets of resistance that we're currently facing can and will be eliminated with the help of those neighbors that take pride in the neighborhoods.
Thank you, John.
Yeah?
Thank you,
All right.
President.
Thanks.